Happy Tuesday, Run, Try, Bike, and Everyday Athlete community. Welcome to our Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, which is now on its 147th episode. Today, we're going to be joined by Rachel Martin, who's the race director of the Pumpkin Man Triathlon and Running Festival, presented by Run, Try, Bike. You heard that right. We are excited to be the presenting sponsor of an event that is perfect for the everyday athlete. So, check your calendars for September 6th and 7th in South Berwick, Maine for the Pumpkin Man Triathlon and Running Festival, and then go register for it. Don't hesitate, get there now. Before we bring Rachel on, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. We now have 9 shows, which means there is something for everyone, and we really mean that. We have Q&A shows like this one, as well as Beyond the Finish Line with Joe Harden and Running Tales with Craig Lewis, as well as Melanin MVP with Angela Hollowell, to our humorous shows about food and music. So make sure you check those all out. If you have an interest, we have a show. Now let's bring Rachel onto the show and talk to her about how she decided to take over Pumpkin Man about 9 years ago, what it means to her, her vision for this year's event, and more. Hey, Rachel, how are you?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Going great. Even better now that we've put out the press release. I've been on pins and needles and doing my best to bite my tongue to not make that announcement.
Yes, it's been very exciting. An exciting day for sure. So happy to be here.
Super happy to have you. Before we dive into any questions, our icebreaker question for you, let's see if you pass or fail on this one, is pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yes. That is the right answer.
Yes, absolutely.
Ohm can take over. I'll be going home now. Thanks for playing.
Okay, Rachel, let's take it over from here.
Here we go.
Hopefully, when we get to the rapid fire food questions, your accuracy and improves with the other food questions we have.
That's funny.
Well, I mentioned that the Pumpkin Man Triathlon and Running Festival, which is taking place on September 6th and 7th this year, 2025, in South Berwick, Maine, is something that you took over 9 years ago. And I wanted to ask, right out of the gate, why was it important for you to take over this event? What did it mean to you? Had you participated in it prior to becoming the race director? Like, what was the catalyst for you saying, you know what, I want to be the race director for this event?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that, because it's a really good question, right? Because you think about how you got into something and what makes you so passionate about what you do, and what I do really doesn't feel like work because you love it so much. So I actually experienced Pumpkin Man as an athlete first. And yeah, I actually won an entry at a local fundraiser. And, you put like your little tickets in there. I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. Let's go. And I won it. And so then I grabbed some friends, my sister-in-law. I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. It's going to be so much fun. I'm somebody that will just like kind of go head on into something and figure it out along the way. So it was so awesome. And the energy was so great. And then I also then started getting involved on the back end, helping out volunteer wise. So I helped out with registration for a number of years, and then eventually took over registration. And then eventually took over some more jobs there, more race directing type of jobs. And, this one thing about Pumpkin Man, which is so special, is that it takes place in the community that I live in. And, community and connection and collaboration is what my life work has been all about. And so I'm very, very fortunate that this event is in my community. So taking it over when Kat Donatello started it 19 years ago. And it's just always had a reputation of being a world-class event in a small town in the US. It's really cool, but it's true. It's a world-class race. It's a bucket list race, and people come from all over the country, Canada, Mexico, the UK. They come from all over to experience Pumpkin Man. And so So it seemed like a natural transition when Kat was transitioning out of it after having it for a decade, and she was moving on to new things. She's got her own company now called Austin and Kat. Shout out to Kat there. She makes amazing dog treats. So yeah, it was just like a natural progression because it is such a big community event. We get so many local sports boosters and nonprofits in town that help out, and we make donations to them. It's just a really big thing for our town, and it just seemed like a natural progression and transition for me.
Before we go on to the next question, for those of you that are in our audience who are listening to this on the podcast, we record this live. And I'm going to bring a comment from our Instagram feed from Cammie the Tri-Nut, who we all know and love.
Cammie! Hi, Cammie!
Who in large capital letters, when you said you like pineapple on pizza, wrote the word no, and there's about 7 O's in the word no. So Cammie's coming on the show next because I need some reinforcements in this conversation.
I won't be a part of that show. So, one of the things I really liked that you mentioned several times was natural progression. And it feels like all the pieces came together in place for you of sort of like you started with registration, you took over registration, you took over bits and pieces of it, and and the only reason you were there was because you won this raffle at a local, like from a local, like a local entry, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so I want to ask you, like, was race directing something that you knew you wanted to do, or was this like
no?
So it really was a natural progression. Like,
no.
Did you ever think that you were going to go into that realm?
No. I was never like, oh, I want to be a race director. But I was the president of like the local PTOs and like different nonprofits in town. So I had a lot of experience like creating events, and to be an event director, you have to have that 30,000 foot view and see all the pieces moving all together. And I can do that. And so it's not for the faint of heart. It's not you have to be, when you're race directing, not to go off on a tangent here, but you have to be able to have 12 conversations at a time, stay very calm, figure it out, and make sure you have the right people in the right place. So there's strategy to making an event be
successful.
Then
you get emails from people like us who are like, hey, how do we get involved? Hey, how do we get involved?
We love it. It's great.
Here's the thing about race directing, and I try to get this out of race directors as much as I possibly can when we talk to them on our show, is that it is juggling 12 balls. It is a scenario in which you guys make it look easy, and we know that it's not. But we also know that you guys get the brunt of the noise, shall we say, when things don't go right. Like, how do you develop that thick skin to be like, look, man, I did everything I could possibly do to make this 100% perfect for you, but nothing is perfect. Like, how do you develop that thick skin? How do you address comments when they come into you that are like, look, you said the run course was 6.2 miles and it was 6.17, and whatever yeah, you made the face because it has happened, hasn't it?
Totally true. Yeah, no, well, I guess practice, a lot of practice, and you just kind of grow like a thick skin, and you have to take the emotion out of it. I've learned to like see a situation and you take the emotion out of it and see it how it is and not worse than it is, which is great life advice, by the way. I think see things how they are, not worse than they are, and you figure it out, and you just and you move on to the next one.
Comment from the audience. Rob Green asks the question, only 12, as in 12 balls that you're juggling.
Yeah, no, it's more like 20. You're right, Rob. Maybe 24, a couple dozen, no big deal. Just juggle them.
So walk me through the process. Do you think that having been the volunteer and been inside of the organization gets you to being able to handle the 24 balls that you're juggling better than somebody who's just starting out? And would you advise that somebody get into race directing from that side of it, like volunteer on the back end, do things on the back end to help the race director not just show up on race day to, give out finisher medals or something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody is out there listening and they're thinking about getting into event directing, like I would 100% say, hey, and anybody who wants that, I'm totally willing to help with. If somebody wanted to do that too, say, hey, I'm looking to get into this. Can I shadow you? Or what is it like? I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I've had multiple conversations with people that want to put on things from a triathlon to a 5K. And so, I always start that conversation with, it's not easy. You have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy creating something for people that they can experience. They can experience growth that they never thought they could have. And the number one thing that I say is you have to think about the athlete's safety first. Like the safety of your athlete, there's nothing more important than that. I mean, we could talk about that for like a whole hour, easy. But that safety is number one. I mean, my job is to keep people alive. And I know that sounds like heavy and deep, but like even on like Tri Day, like I never leave that waterfront until everybody's out. But I know my waterfront director is the best in the business. Daphne, if you're watching, you're amazing. Like she knows what she's doing. And we overstack that water with way more people and volunteers and lifeguards than you need. But you have to do that. That is your job to keep everybody safe. So I don't know how I got talking about that.
It's the multiple balls that you're juggling. And the reality is that the negative responses that you get, like as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, if you have to cancel an event for whatever reason, torrential downpour, and I think to myself, the safety of the athlete, to your point, is of the utmost importance. But there are still going to be people who are like, look, I raced during Hurricane X. Why can't I do it now? Right.
We had a microburst come through.
I just can't imagine that you have to, the things that you must see from athletes who, pardon, some people are going to get upset at this, but are selfish and are like, I really don't care. I want to go race in the hurricane and, get on my bike while the winds are whipping at 62 miles an hour and all these other things. But you have to look at the entirety of the field and not just a single entity, correct?
That happened to us actually last year. So in 2023, we had the night before. So like I mentioned before, Pumpkin Man is not like your typical event. It's like this amazing community supported, wonderful event where a race meets like a wedding reception. We've got these beautiful, huge sailcloth tents. It is decorated. It is awesome. It is like the atmosphere is just amazing. And so we have like this massive, as big of a tent that you can get. And then another tent that has all the food that goes under it. And it's on this beautiful piece of property in Maine. And the night before, so it was registration. So the event, the Tri was on Saturday. Friday night, a microburst came through during registration. So we're talking all of a sudden, everything comes through. In a matter of a half an hour, our venue was destroyed. Transition completely flattened out. All the porta potties all over. The tent, one of the tents, like the end of like the huge tent had fallen down. The other tent lifted and gone. Like everything you had worked for that whole week, gone. In a matter of minutes. And it was like a microburst that came through. And I can remember this so clearly. I was staring outside. I just looked outside at transition and I saw it all come through. And I was like, well, there's nothing we can do about it right now. We just have to figure it out, when it's over. And then somebody was like, did you see the tents in the field? And I was like, no. And so I go out there and I'm like, I went, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? And so that's when you have, like, we literally had to come up with plan B less than 12 hours before our transition opened for our Tri. And, I haven't talked about this in a while, but it fires me up because the end of the story will show you how amazing our community is. So because I live in this community and have so many connections with awesome people, text chains were going out to all of our local friends and groups. Everybody came to the venue. People with like leaf blowers, like blowing transition. Everybody up there putting the bike racks back up. Before the storm was even over, our tent company was already there. The owner of the tent company, who doesn't come out to the sites, was there. Replaced one of the tents, got the other one back up. Everybody's like, I couldn't believe it. Like the community rallied, and it's a testament to when you put your heart and soul into something, and your community gets behind it, and your athletes get behind it, and they know what it's all about. They will rally. And so what I had to do was figure out, what are we going to do? And so we had to get rid of the bike portion, because we went out and we drove the roads. I knew the minute we left the driveway, that bike was getting cut. Like, there's nothing you can do. You've got debris everywhere. It's all over the place. And so we had to cut the bike. But the way I approached it was through the lens of, all right, guys, we're going to do what we can do. We're not just going to cancel this thing. You guys have worked too hard, but there's only so much we can do. But this is what we're going to do. And I went Ted Lasso on all those people. And I, no joke, like the emails that went out, and I had to send video. I was like, this is what the venue looks like right now. And so everybody went in. The porta potty people came back. They picked them all up. I got to tell you, I got onto the beach that next morning, right before the swim. Excuse me. And I was so impressed and blown away that I had more starts that day than I had the year before. Everybody showed up, and it's all in how you like really take care of the event that you have, and you take care of that responsibility, and you really hone in on what's important. And I'm telling you, those people feel it, and they come back. Our retention rate is huge. They come back and they spread it. And I shout out to everybody who loves this event and supports it. I feel it. So anyway, I got talking about that, but like, that's just something like you have, when you're a race director, you got to deal with that.
Yeah. And I think it goes to who you are as a race director for this event. And the number of participants is not tiny for your event. You have over 1,000 people that participate.
Over the course of the weekend. Yeah. Over the course of the whole weekend. Yes.
Right. So, managing the expectations of 1,000 plus people is stressful. And being able to get it out there and put the event on. And I'm going to guess that 100% of the people that participated in the event were grateful that the event took place, but a very small portion of them probably knew the things that you went through to make that event happen after that microburst went through the area.
Yeah. And that comes down again to, like the communication and the way you treat your customers. That's a whole process. It's not just like, oh, you signed up for this, great. But like, there's like this road that you develop, it's like this relationship that you develop with them. And the way you communicate is so important. And they understand, like this year, the back of our volunteer t-shirts, I had on there, like, we believe, like the Ted Lasso believe in you. It was on the back of every volunteer t-shirt, And so like they love being a part of something that's even bigger than themselves, as do I. Like, this isn't about me. It's about the athletes. It's about the community. It's about everybody.
Yeah. It's, a lot of people walk in this world, especially in this day and age, and this is taking a higher level on it, but we walk around in this day and age thinking that we're alone and we have to do these things alone and we have to move alone. And the biggest thing I got out of your story is the way the community rallied behind you, the way the porta potty people came back, the 10 people came back, the way people showed up. And like, it just amazes me. Like, talk about like what it means to you to, when you're putting that energy out there and receiving that energy back, almost like a feedback loop, the importance of not just treating this as like a race director client relationship or like with anything that you're working with, but really just like this relationship of community. You use the word community. Talk about that community and what it meant for you to see that those people rallying behind you.
Yeah, it was definitely like it brought me to tears, really, like to see literally like all of our friends show up with these. Like one of my friends was like who helps out in transition every year. Jason Gorey showed up and he's got his leaf blower. He's like, I thought I was gonna be leaf blowing the roads. Like I didn't know what I had to do, but I show, they all show up. And one moment that I remember from that night too is like the venue has like this one little separate room that like myself and like my husband who helps out, and then a lot of other of our top people were figuring out what to do. And I was like, okay, guys, you guys need to go. I need to focus on this email that I'm going to write to people because this is what we have to do, and I need to make sure that it gets delivered in the right way and that they understand what's going on. And in walks in, I had no idea he was going to show up, but one of my good friends, Chris Burbank, he was he was a police officer in our town, known him forever. And he walks in, he's like, I just want to check on you. I just want to check on you. I'm like, I did not expect it. And I was like teary, and it was just like, that happened like that whole time. And it just warms my heart, because everything and all of the energy and the effort that it takes to put something like this on. And I think I told you this, like I'm a one-woman show. Until that race weekend, everything you see from emails to design work to ads to social, I do all of that. And that's it. I don't have anybody to do that, So it's a lot of work, but it is definitely a work of heart.
I have to, and before you continue with your comment and your question, Jason, I just want to add, like, one, like, you are running this operation essentially as a one-person show, as you said. Like, it has to be, when you have moments like that with the police officer, and you have those moments like with Daphne and like your other volunteers, and you're going out there, like, do you feel like that gives you sort of a break or an energy boost when you are, as a race director, constantly focused on that high level? Does it help you take a minute to like sink down to that like microscopic level and have that conversation, have that interaction to like continue to build that energy? Or I guess, how are those interactions for you compared to like zooming in, like zooming out, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, that makes sense. No, I love all that. I love all that, because they're all really, everybody that's involved at the top level are all good friends. And that's what makes it so unique. I don't know how many race directors get the chance to do something like that. Not only have the race with the people that you love and just get to do life with, and also have the event in your town. I mean, it's so unique. It's so unique and so special. So I feel, but no, I get energy from people. I'm a total extrovert, so I get energy from people. So yeah, I love it.
I would never have guessed that you were an extrovert.
Actually, it's really funny. I was talking with my daughter in the car, and we'll be driving down the road. I'll be like, oh, isn't that funny? Somebody just went past us. We'll probably never meet them, and they have their own little life going on. And there's billions of people like that over the world we'll never meet. And she was like, you need to create something. I was like, ooh. She's like, you need to create like a group where people think about these things. Like, okay, I want to meet everybody on the planet. How do we do it?
We're already on that same wavelength. Lori and I talk about this all the time. Like, I am a big believer in reflection of how you got to a particular place, and all the people that you had to talk to and connect with all along the way to make that happen. Like, for example, you and I are talking today with Om, and those are two different stories, like my story with Om and my story with you. But with you, it goes back to a conversation that we had with Cammie, who was introduced to us because of Adina, who, and all of these connections that you have to have before anything actually transpires. And going back to the story you just mentioned with your daughter, is Lori and I talk about, one of the things we talk about often is the people we have forgotten. So we lived in Seattle for a year, and we used to go to this coffee shop, and we would talk to the guy behind the counter. We were there probably 3 or 4 times a week, and we would talk to him behind the counter every time. We talked about the Mariners and the Seahawks and the car. We talked about everything. And now we may never see him ever again, right? But we remember him, and it's the people that you don't interact with. So I'm in the group. I'm ready to start this group conversation. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, because you mentioned, being brought to tears with the people offering help and being an extrovert, and I would fall into that same category. Take me through, if you can, maybe one or two experiences that you've had with athletes who have crossed finish lines, maybe for their first time or coming back from an injury or some obstacle in life that you can recall that standing at the finish line and seeing them cross just gave you all of the feels. Do you have a story or two like that?
There's so many.
I knew it when I saw your face. I'm like, Rachel is processing like hundreds of stories right now.
I know there's so many, and it's hard to like pinpoint. It's so hard to pinpoint them because they're all so amazing and unique and special. And we now have little kids that come to the running festival and they cross the finish line. Again, that's one of my favorite parts is when the 1 mile fun run, they come running down and they're so excited. But yeah, no, there have been some people that have been injured and they come back and they cross that finish line and they're just like, I feel like that finish line. Actually, my friend Liz wrote a book called Finish Line Feeling. I feel like the finish line, it's like it doesn't get old for them. You know what I mean? It doesn't get old, and it's just inspiring, and it just see, I'm like, I don't even have words.
I love it.
That makes sense.
Oh, before you ask the next question, I'm going to put Hunter Ralston, who's the founder of Women on Wheels and has joined our show, on the hot seat right now. Hunter, get your group, register for the Pumpkin Man Triathlon and Running Festival, September 6th and 7th in South Berwick, Maine. You're right there in the Northeast, so you can get a bunch of people up there. Anyway, I'll turn it back over to you now.
Yeah. Shout out to Hunter. My question for you is, one of the things we talked about in the green room is that you did play team sports, but you were generally from an unathletic background, and
not competitive. Yeah.
Not a non-competitive background. And one of the things I find that I've experienced myself and that people experience as well is they see the people on the podiums, they see the elite athletes, they're everywhere. We have the age of social media now and comparison, which is something that we've talked about in previous conversations that we've had just chatting about our ideologies. And I have to ask you, like, how do you, as somebody who comes from that non-competitive background, how did you carve your space, and how can others do the same for themselves in this space as well?
Just do it, right? You just have to, like, I don't know how to say, but like, just go for it. You have nothing to lose, these types of events, especially like ours and other ones that we like to go to too, like they're all, it's hard not to be intimidated, but if you just go and you show up, you'll see that there are so many people that look like you, that don't look like you, but they are all having such a good time, and you just have to go for it. One of the things that has helped me in life and in work, when you were asking me about how do you deal with athletes that may challenge you, I've got a bunch of stories about that, but the ones that might challenge you, put yourself in situations where you're going to be uncomfortable, because that's where your growth is, and you're never going to know unless you try. And guess what? If you don't like it, you don't have to do it again, but you're going to get bit by the bug and you're going to like it and you're going to have fun. If you like being around people that are, and if anybody's tuning in that has never done a race before, just sign up for like a local 5K somewhere with some friends. Just grab some friends and go. You can walk it. Events are for everybody, unless you're doing something like Ironman World Championship. Like, that event is going to be highly competitive, all that. But like your typical local 5K, local half marathon, like it's people like you. It's people like you. It's the everyday athlete.
I would even say about the Ironman World Championships too, even that is going to have somebody who finishes in last place.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Yes.
So like do the thing. We're big believers in the mantra that we have here, which is take risks and bet on yourself. And if you can do that and understand that sometimes you're gonna, pass with flying colors and other times you're gonna miss out, and that's okay. And I think one of the things that drew our organization to you and your organization is this idea that there is a spot at the starting line for everybody. When I founded the company, that was and is the vision and mission of Run Try Bike, which is to prove that there is a spot at the starting line for everybody and everybody. And I think what your events on the Saturday and Sunday, the triathlon and the running festival, prove that, right? With it, you have a sprint triathlon and a sprint relay. You have an Olympic triathlon and an Olympic relay and an Olympic aqua bike. And then you have the kids fun run. You have the American pumpkin pie 5K 3.14 miler. You have the thing that made me laugh harder than anybody else, has made me laugh in a long time, was the Pumpkin Jenny 8675309. For those of you who are old enough to remember that song, that's hilarious. You've got the Pumpkin Man half marathon, the Pumpkin Man 30K, which is a great tune-up for your fall marathon. And then I want to ask you about this event, which is the half marathon, the Battle on Spring Hill 6.6 miler. Talk to us about that, because one, it sounds hard, but it also sounds like a blast.
It's awesome. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm going to say it's awesome. I mean, it's awesome because I cheer people on, no, just kidding. No, so I actually got inspired to add that to my running festival lineup after I helped Jesse Itzler produce his first ever public event, Hell on the Hill main edition, which was actually a half marathon on that same hill. And so it was like it was actually literally recorded as like the world's hilliest half marathon, because that one was 62, maybe 63 loops up and down and up and down and up and down. And so then I was inspired. I was like, oh, I bet I could do half that. Let's just start with like half of that. And I had a bunch of people actually, Mermaid Maggie, I don't know if you're watching, but she did that event in the very first year. Talk about somebody who felt so inspired after. She's like, oh my God, I feel like I can do anything. I was like, I know, you're awesome. So that inspired me after helping produce Hell on the Hill main edition to add that to the lineup. And this year, I'm actually going to have a relay option for it, because we were sitting at the top of the hill last year. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe there could be people that have like a team, maybe a team of 4 for like at most. But the very first registration that came in this year for the running festival was the Battle on Spring Hill.
Does it surprise you that we have partnered with Rachel with this idea of like, hey, we have this, why don't we add this to it instead? Because a lot of our own meetings sound a lot like that.
Oh yeah, you got to. You've got nothing to lose.
It doesn't surprise me one bit. Yeah, this sounds like Rachel could be an exact fit into our weekly meetings, honestly. And we wouldn't skip a beat.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, isn't it cool though, right? To be able to take a chance, do something, see if it works out. If it doesn't, you tweak it a little bit, you add something to it, you subtract something from it until you get to where we are at. I mean, we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, I think, when we had Kevin Scott from Better Butter as our very first guest on our Fireside chat. And it was so shitty. It was awful in retrospect. Like people talking over each other. It was only through Instagram Live, but we just kept showing up. We just kept doing it, and now we've got people asking to be on our show, and how do we, grow it? And next thing you know, we've got the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network with 9 different shows. And I'm sure that's what happened with you is, hey, we've got the triathlon piece, and let's add in this component and that component. And what is the market? What are they looking for? What are our athletes asking for? And how do we build that out? And instead of running away from it, you're running towards it. Is that something that has been a part of your lifestyle prior to race directing, where you were the person who was like looking for the thing that nobody else was doing, and how do I do it, and how can I make it better, and how can I make it more fun? Would that be a good description of who you were before you became a race director as well?
Yeah, I've just been, I think my whole life, it's funny, I am obsessed with personal growth and development. And every day, I listen to so much of it. One of my favorite quotes is stand guard at the door of your mind. And so every day I'm listening to the best books, best podcasts on all of this. And so I'm like my own little therapist in my head all the time. So I'm like, oh, well, why do you think I did that? And, I think just from without going into like, you know, childhood and all that stuff, but I had to like figure stuff out like on my own a lot of times. And like if I wanted to do something, I had to figure out a way. And that's why I love the phrase FIO, figure it out, jump in and just FIO, figure it out. And so I don't see like no, like as an answer or like a ceiling or why can't this happen? So I think I've definitely been like that. And I'm definitely a big dreamer, definitely the big dreamer, big picture. And I know what it takes. Like when I created like our first, I have Rick's Run that I created in memory of my dad. And that's always the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. It's at the same venue. And it benefits veterans in Maine suffering from PTSD. And so I knew that was the year I started it, the year that I took over Pumpkin Man. So I hadn't even done Pumpkin Man on my own yet, but I was like, no, I'm going to do Rick's Run. And so I added that in. But what I do is I see what it can be and I know what I want it to be and what it to look like. And I don't see any like limitations. I just know I can figure it out and then reverse engineer how to make it happen. So like, what you want that end result to be. So yeah, that's what I do.
So you mentioned Jesse Itzler and
Yep.
Angela Hollowell, who is watching us on Instagram, who is the host of one of the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network shows, Melanin MVP, commented, I planned my year with Jesse Itzler's Big Ass Calendar live stream, inspired me to set my Misogi for the year, cycling a century. So, again, it's about taking the chance on yourself and taking the risk and seeing what comes of it. And I think one of the things that people need to do the most with that kind of thing is learn from it. If you were successful, what did you do right so that you can, copy paste that into the future, and what didn't go right and what can you adjust? As long as you learn from it, the sky's the limit, shall we say.
That's awesome. And by the way, nice Misogi. I love that. And if you go to any of Jesse's only doing like one event this year, Running Man. So maybe I'll see you there because I'm there. I'm your 8-hour high five cheerleader at that event.
Before we jump into the rapid fire and ask you to let people know where they can find you, I want to add to the point you were making about like you were mentioning like being a big dreamer, but also like figuring things out, like FIO, I had to think there for a minute to get those letters together, but basically I want to, I am somebody who had analysis paralysis for the longest time. I grew up in an age where there's so much social media. I think a lot of people suffer with this absolute all or nothing mindset. We hear it everywhere. We hear like you're either all in or all out. Like failure is not an option, when in fact, like failure is a key to success. One of our sayings in the company is that failure is not terminal; it's a building block to success. So I want to ask you, like, the importance of progress over perfection. You have this mindset of like, we've seen it obviously with, the situation you had with your race, but like this figure it out mindset. Talk about that figure it out mindset, going through that process, failing, recalibrating, and what it looks like to make progress instead of going for perfection.
Oh, I love this stuff. So yeah, so figuring it out is I think one of the most important FIO. If anybody listening can develop an FIO kind of mindset, it will be a game changer. Fail fast. Failure. We have been taught that, you need to get the A. You need to get the A to do this. And, you don't want to fail. And no, failure is part of the process. Fail fast. One of the best stories Sarah Blakely, Jesse's wife, talks about, her father used to ask her around the dinner table every week, her and her brother, like, what did you fail at this week? What'd you fail at? And so it became like, so if you can look at failure as part of the process. Like, you want to fail. All right, I didn't find the way to do it yet. And it's okay. It's okay. And it's just part of the process. And I think by purposefully putting yourself in situations where you're probably going to fail, but that's okay. You know, that's like the whole mindset. You know, when I helped do like the Race Across America 3 years in a row, like the bike race that goes from San Diego to Annapolis, you know, I was on the crew for that. It is just, you just FIO the entire time, you know, for 7 days in these tight quarters with people, and you're literally on this race that never stops. So I think when you put yourself in situations where you're going to fail, you just figure it out. And that's how you develop like that thick skin that we were talking about earlier, you know. And, you know, I can remember having to, my husband, I adore him. I'm so lucky. He is amazing and has a lot of knowledge in a lot of things. And so I can remember calling him one day when I was on the Race Across America, and I was like, how do I tell a Navy SEAL that they're wrong? I said, somebody that you hold in the utmost respect.
Oh.
And he's like, quickly, with that, and calmly. I was like, okay. But like, when you put yourself in stuff like that, and then it's just practice. It's practice. Yeah. It's practice. If you want to do something, it's practice. It's practice, you know? I mean, how many strikeouts do, you know,
I say it all. Oh, did we just lose her? I say it all the time that if you've made it to the Baseball Hall of Fame and you hit 300, you have made an out 7 out of 10 times. More than half the time you have made an out, and you're considered one of the best.
Exactly.
It's a thing that I use in sales for myself too, right? Like, if you can get 20% conversion, that means you have failed 8 times all along the way to get to 8 out of 10 times. Which I think puts a lot of things into perspective. As you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, you know, Rachel lives the motto, even if she doesn't know it, live a good story. And it's something that Lori and I practice in our house, which is to live a good story, which is put yourself out there, take a chance. You know, things are not going to go 100% according to plan all the time. But I guarantee you I'm going to have a great story from it. I mean, we've been talking for 40 plus minutes. We've been sharing stories back and forth, and we could probably do this, you know, for the rest of the month, if not longer. Right. Exactly. And I think that's the whole point of it, right? If you isolate yourself and you don't go outside and touch grass, what's the story going to be? Right. Like I typed into a chat box. That's not going to be really exciting. But the exciting story is I was hosting an event, a microburst came through, porta potties were strung all over the place, tents were everywhere. Like, that's a good story. And that's what living a good story is. And so thank you for being who you are, and being able to be the kind of person who lives a good story. I think that goes so far in life. It allows us to connect with each other. It allows for deeper relationships and not just surface level type things. And we are proud, we are honored, and we are excited to be the presenting sponsor of the Pumpkin Man Triathlon and Running Festival, because we do know that over the course of the next 9 to 10 months, there are going to be stories of people who are training for your event. And then we're going to get stories on September 7th and September 8th after they finish the triathlon and after they finish the run of what transpired in South Berwick, Maine. And I can't wait to share those stories and put them on our platform for everybody to read and get inspired and motivated by. So thank you for taking a chance on us, and thank you for trusting us to help you with getting the event out into the space and get people registered. So I'm going to give it one last time. It is September 6th and 7th in South Berwick, Maine. It is the Pumpkin Man Triathlon and Running Festival. There is an event for everybody at this event for these 2 days. Where can people find you? Because some people are going to be watching this on LinkedIn or on YouTube, and some people are going to listen to it on Apple and Spotify. So where can people get information about the event, Rachel?
Sure. Yeah. They can go to my website, Forward Motion Events, plural, forwardmotionevents.com. And from there, you can find out information on the on all of my events that I am producing this year. And I hope you don't mind. I want to leave some people with some advice. And this is something that I do a lot. And when I'm trying to decide if I want to try something or not, I use the rocking chair test. And I put myself I say this, I'm going to be 114 years old. That's what I say. So I put myself on my rocking chair when I'm 114 and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, am I going to be glad that I tried to do that? Or am I going to regret? My biggest regret in life would be to have any regrets. That's what drives me. Like, I don't want any regrets at all. And I would much rather fall flat on my face and fail than to have any regrets that I wish I would have tried. So if you're debating, anybody out there listening, if you're debating anything, put yourself in your rocking chair and be like, oh, am I glad that I just kind of was like, yeah, I don't think I'll try it. Just go for it.
You hear it all the time, right? The story of the deathbed, right? The person on the deathbed is like, I wish I would have.
Yes.
And I guarantee you the stories that these days isn't, I wish I would have, posted another angry comment on Instagram. Like, I guarantee
I'm so happy that I put that comment out there for those 10 people to see, and it made me feel better. Actually, no, get outside and go for a walk. That'll make you feel better.
Yeah, go register for the Jenny, the 8.8675309. That is one of the best race names I've ever heard.
It is fun. It's a very popular one.
All right. So we always end our fireside chat with a rapid fire series of questions regarding food.
Okay.
You've already missed out on the first one, so you're 0 for 1.
Okay.
But you might still make it in the into the Food Hall of Fame if you get 3 out of 10. So you need 3 out of 9.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
You're up in Maine, and this is not a question we normally ask, but you're up in Maine. So do you prefer a lobster roll or a shrimp roll?
You are going to be very surprised at my answer. I don't like seafood.
No way.
Oh, I don't like seafood.
Totally shocked.
Yeah, I'm actually very basic. Give me some chicken on a salad. I'm happy. I'm like, so whatever. Like, I'm not a foodie. I'm a cheap date, obviously, because seafood. So neither is the answer for me on that one.
I am surprised, no doubt. Oreos. Do you like the old school Oreo, the double stuff Oreo, the Cakester, or the Oreo Thins?
Well, I'm not sure what a Cakester is, but I think I would go with a double stuff and just eat the middle.
Oh, not even getting the wafers are out.
Wafers are out.
Licorice, red or black?
I like red, but I have a little space in my heart for the black because my dad liked that.
Oh, okay. I love the emotional.
But red, but obviously, if I had them sitting in front of me, I'd say red.
Red Vines or Twizzlers?
Twizzlers.
Are Peeps a real candy, or are they just stale marshmallows covered in gold glitter?
They are awesome.
Oh no!
I don't mind Peeps. I like them. I grew up with Peeps.
Okay, normally or stale?
Either.
I don't know why I bothered to ask.
I'll like whatever except for seafood.
Do you look for them all year round, or are you just waiting for Easter to come rolling around and you just hoard them?
Well, now they have them for every holiday. They do. They have them at Halloween. They've got them at Christmas. But I mean, if I was gonna have one, it'd probably be at Easter.
Oh my God.
I'm afraid to ask this next one. Candy corn. Is candy corn a real candy, or is it just earwax covered in sugar?
It's a candy.
You're just reaching in, grabbing a whole handful, aren't you?
Sure, why not?
Are you traditional candy corn, or do you like those pumpkin ones?
The pumpkins. Pumpkins?
Yeah, it's a terrible question. You should know the answer.
I should know the answer to this.
We actually have those out if people want to put them on their yogurt parfaits in the morning after.
I was gonna book a plane ticket, but now I don't know if I should. I don't want.
I won't have Peeps. I won't have Peeps.
Grandma's candy bowl. It has that strawberry wrapped candy. It has the butterscotch wrapped candy, and it has the peppermint wrapped candy. Which one are you grabbing?
Butterscotch.
Nice. I like butterscotch is so good.
It is.
Creamy or crunchy peanut butter?
Creamy.
How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And before you answer, I'll give you your options. You put peanut butter on one slice, jelly on the other, and you smash them together. You put peanut butter on one slice, jelly on the same, and then fold over.
Ooh. I would say the 2 slices.
And then you smash them together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then how do you cut it? Do you cut it into 2 rectangles?
There's no cutting.
Just straight in.
No cutting. Unless it was for like a toddler, I'd probably cut straight in, not at the diagonal.
So if it's for you, no cutting.
No cutting.
Do you start at the corner and work your way around like a typewriter, or you go straight into the middle?
Probably in the middle. I also eat like corn on the cob, like completely random. Like there's no, it's like all
Oh my God.
like my brain all over.
Oh my God, we found Shannon's match.
We did.
Finally. It only took like 100 episodes.
And Shannon's in New York, in upstate New York, so she's a little bit of a New Englander herself. Maybe it's the common denominator. So who we're talking about is she told us she cuts it into 2 rectangles and then turns the sandwich and eats the peanut butter and jelly like it's corn on the cob because she doesn't want to get her hands messy from the jelly. I thought it was the greatest answer to eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, by the way.
Wow, yeah.
Rachel's face is like she found the greatest discovery of all time. I love this.
Like, whoa.
Oh my
I have
goodness.
to tag Shannon in this.
Is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco?
I don't know. I don't even know what a hot dog is.
It's good. It's what it is.
I mean, it seems more like a taco, I would think.
It seems more like a taco, but I would say a sandwich because it's meat in between 2 slices of bread, essentially, because it's kind of thick.
Yeah.
The hard-hitting journalism here at the Run Try Bike Fireside, by the way. Red velvet cake. Is red velvet a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Yeah, it's just dressed up. It tastes no different.
It doesn't. When you go to the grocery store, it doesn't taste any different. They're charging like $12 extra for it. Yeah. But, if you go to a real bakery, they have the alkalized cocoa and all the other stuff that does make it taste a little bit different. But you have to go to a proper bakery for that, for sure. Favorite flavor of ice cream is?
Oh, vanilla bean.
Straight up.
I also like peanut butter. I like peanut butter on it. And if you want a little bit of extra sweet, you can put a little honey on it too. Try peanut butter with honey. It's good.
Well, no doubt. One of my favorite snacks is to put peanut butter on a rice cake with sliced banana and honey over top of it.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Favorite candy bar is?
Does Reese's count or dark chocolate? I love dark chocolate.
The answer is yes.
Yes. All of it. Dark chocolate. My jam.
I mean, Ohm hasn't done a triathlon. I am a former Ironman participant, finisher, but we are ultra runners. And so like when it comes to all of this like gas station style food, the answer is always yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Last one before we send you on your way. There's a tray of brownies that's on the counter. It's been sitting there, so it's cooled off a little bit. Are you the kind of person that goes to the corner piece? Are you the person that gets the edge piece? Or are you the person that's going to the middle?
Corner.
Because you like to have like a handle?
You are like some of it's a little crispy. I like things cooked. You're like, oh gosh, when you go to dinner, it's like if I like order a burger, it's got to be well done.
Oh no. I'll take the hockey puck, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that's me. No seafood.
But no seafood, correct. Since you brought up a burger, what are you going as far as toppings are concerned? Shredded lettuce, are you tomatoes, onions?
Yes.
Like, what are you putting on there?
Load it up. I love tomatoes, lettuce, spinach, ketchup.
Throw it all on there. Make a mess.
All on there, but not like mushrooms. Not a big fan of mushrooms.
You got to have like a 6-napkin burger, right? It's just got to be like running down your arm.
Yep, for sure.
Rachel, thank you so much for oh wait, I forgot my part of the brownie question. Oh, yeah. Are you topping it with that vanilla bean ice cream to make it a la mode, or you just want straight brownie?
No, just straight brownie.
Awesome. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us on Fireside Chat. It's been a blast having you. I am looking forward to working with you throughout the rest of this year. Folks, do not forget the Pumpkin Man Triathlon and Running Festival, September 6th and 7th in South Berwick, Maine. Run there right now. Get on the registration button, smash it. Get your friends to join you in the relays. Get your friends to join you for both days of the events. Get in there, get on it. This is going to be something that you will never forget. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much.